This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Small Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you by the Legacy Podcast Studio in Kernersville, North Carolina. And I am Lamar Powell, and this is my, I was going to do C words today, curious, crazy,
I am his
courageous co-host, Audra Adams.
I am Audra Adams, and this is a special edition of Small Business Leaders Podcast because today you're going to have a unique opportunity to see a little bit of on the backside of our
what
life.
We're all about.
Yes, our spouses are here in the building. You've heard us talk about them for months, but now they are live and in the flesh. So who knows how this is going to go, but let's get into it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so welcome to the table. We're going to make introductions. This is my husband, Jonathan Adams. Welcome.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Is it?
It's good to be here. I have to be here. You didn't give me a choice. You said I had to be here.
You're in the hot seat today.
I live there.
And this is my beautiful wife, my better half.
Hi,
best
everyone.
half.
Happy to be
Heather.
here as well. Have no clue what's going to happen today, but I'm excited to see how this goes.
But what's cool about this is, we tell everybody we're related.
Yeah.
Sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and we have to explain
Who,
how.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now everybody gets to see you guys. But what's interesting and what I like about this is you are brother and sister. So,
There's going to be stories, I think, from here.
Possibly.
Possibly.
We'll see.
Well.
And there's three of y'all all together in y'all's family.
Yep,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes,
we
we
have
have
one.
Three siblings.
Yep.
Okay.
One more sister. Yeah.
Yes, she lives in Louisiana still, so otherwise we would have her on to, help tell the stories as well.
And she's the youngest. I keep interrupting you. I love it on your face.
And she would actually be the funniest one on this podcast. She's hilarious.
Absolutely.
She's
So we have a very long history that goes back, the three of us, to our childhoods. Mm-hmm. And I've spoken somewhat about that, but why don't we just kind of go over what y'all remember about the early days?
The early days.
early days.
Yeah, the early days.
Like, how early are you wanting us to go back?
You're the oldest, right? I keep forgetting about, because most of the time I think.
Seriously, Lamar, you just got to put that out there?
Listen,
Yeah, she's the oldest. She's only 20.
I mean, let's be real. I look the oldest.
She's 20. He's 50.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, in reality, there's only 18 months between us. It's not
like
nothing.
almost
Yeah.
Irish.
Life
to us.
has been rough.
Yeah, true. Lots of gray hair. He doesn't cover his. I choose to cover mine.
That's right.
So what is your first memory of us meeting?
Oh gosh, I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, I guess it would probably be, was it at Tays Valley?
I think
was that
so,
the very
yeah.
first time we ever met? I think it was at Tays Valley. Yeah. And we were all just a bunch of little kids, probably like 12, I'd say, maybe.
11 or 12, yeah.
Was about when we met.
Yeah.
And our families sang and their families sang, and we ended up, God just had the stars align, and we were both scheduled at events on that particular week, and we met and became good friends and got excited because we found out we were going to be at another church in a few months down the road, and before you knew it, I mean, we all had become friends, and we only got to see each other maybe 4 times a year if we were lucky.
Right.
And we wasn't privileged to have phones and things like that, so
What did we do?
we had to write letters.
We wrote
We had
letters.
to write letters, but it wasn't that we wasn't privileged. They didn't have them then.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. Absolutely.
Now you're
technology
dating
wasn't
us.
there yet. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's my first memory of meeting you guys.
I think it's interesting, our friendship, because we're the most unlikely pairing. Because as a teenager and young adult, your interest varied
Very
dramatically.
different.
Yeah.
Very different. I
From-
was a big tomboy, and you were as pretty as you could be. So always well together, put together. And I was always looking for the boys to play ball with. So.
But it ended up that you taught me to play ball.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, at Taze Valley. We spent quite a bit of time in that gym. Yeah.
Yeah. You taught us to play ball. And then my brother and Jonathan became really
Yeah.
good friends.
We won't talk about what we did, but yeah.
And their interests were a lot alike because of the sound system
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of that. So they really
Buses
did
and everything else.
have a lot in common.
Yeah, but they also played ball with us. Did y'all win?
No, because I'm not good at any sport except cooking.
Or we were good?
That could be, but
Maybe,
but I think it's more that y'all believe you were good. You were playing against people who could not play.
Whichever way it is,
But you can feel that
we
way.
won,
It's
and we
it's
won-
better than us.
we
Let's put it
won
that
for
way.
years.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
like
Yep.
year after year, we would plan these things like
You
every
did.
year.
You did, and you would win today.
Yeah.
One of the things that stand out too to me is for several years in a row, we would come to you guys' house for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And that was always a lot of fun times.
I think
during
we
that.
literally brought fried turkeys to the state of North Carolina
did.
Think
before
so.
before it was popular.
You
Yeah.
did. And I remember the first year that y'all came to our house for Thanksgiving, we didn't have a fryer yet. So your dad
Yeah.
taught my dad how to inject the
Yeah. What did we do,
sauce,
it in
the
the oven?
secret sauce. And we put it in a bag and we baked it in
Bake it
the
in the
oven.
Okay,
It was
didn't-
wonderful.
yeah.
It was wonderful.
I remember it being so flavorful because I think Dad was talking about how maybe we just need to do this and not fry it because
Yeah.
it tasted so good that year, you know?
But the next year, Dad, he bought the fryer
Yeah.
and we did the whole 9 yards. And from then on, I have never had a Thanksgiving
Without a fried turkey.
without a fried or smoked Cajun.
Oh yeah. Well, it was always fried turkeys, and now it's kind of smoked turkeys because we make those good too.
You make everything. You make everything good. Lamar, you want to jump in here? at
No,
any
I'm just
point?
feeling left out over here.
Yeah,
in the
we're
corner,
sorry.
but
Oh.
that's
So
okay.
sorry.
Y'all-
And Audra's still in the show.
She always steals the show, but that's okay. That's why she's here.
So, I will go ahead and say at that point, at the ripe age of 12, I believe, Jonathan fell in love with
That's
me.
exactly right. Yeah,
Gosh.
I did. Your poofy little dress and your gap between your teeth and all those things.
Yeah, I remember that cute
Yeah.
little gap between your teeth.
I wish
Yeah.
we could flash a picture up there. That'd be really
great.
good.
Don't worry, Daniel will find one, I'm sure. Don't you dare. So we began to be what we thought was boyfriend and girlfriend
Yep.
at the ripe age of 12.
Yes,
And that meant that we wrote each other letters and we had a calling card
That's
that
right.
had the 1-888, you had to do all that at a payphone. And we would leave messages. Tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, this will date us for sure, but we had answering machines at our houses, and you could call the number, and I can't remember if you put a code in or whatever, and it would play it back to you. So we traveled and they traveled, and so a lot of times it was we were up till by the time we tore down sound and got back in the bus and got to where we could, it might be 12 o'clock at night was about a normal phone call. So I would call her house in North Carolina and let her know where we were and what the phone number was. And then she could call that answering machine and vice versa. That's the way we made
Yeah,
it work. And we would
absolutely.
sit there at
It
that
is.
phone until the other one called.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
from what I remember, we didn't miss each other too many times.
No, we
Yep.
didn't. And then you were quite the writer.
Yes, which
Of letters.
which I had totally forgot about till we actually got back together. Because I am not a writer. I'm not a person that writes letters. That's just not who I am. And I swore up and down when her and I got back together that was not my letters. I mean, I was confident that they were not my letters.
So let's dive into that just 1 second. So, you have alluded to twice that when her and I got back together,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
meant that we weren't together
Yeah.
for
That's
wha-
20-something
20
years.
years.
Yeah.
Years.
Years, yeah.
So, let me ask you first. Who broke up with who when we were
You broke up with me
right?
because you were scared. And you said I was an old man and I was settled in my ways at 14, 15 years old, which is, I've always been an old man. But let the record show I would not have got married at 15 years old.
So we made this relationship work from the age of 12 to 15.
Yeah.
And then at 15 years old, I was like,
She really, what it was is, see, now I understand the psychological issues behind it. She really thought the grass was greener on the other side. But what she didn't know is the pasture was full where she was.
Oh, my word.
oh my God, there's so much we may have to cut out of here. I didn't know there was grass anywhere else, and I just needed to explore, okay?
And that you did.
Oh, well, not that much. Not Lamar.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say what I was thinking, but in any case.
No, that
I
would
think
be-
it's
No,
great.
really,
No.
to be fair, it wasn't the right time.
It
I mean,
wasn't.
it was time to move on, and we did that, and
We never spoke anymore
No.
after that last day. And you wanted me to tell him the last parting that we had at 15.
sure.
Are you okay with that?
Listen, I'm an open book.
Okay. We were in an office at my house, and he looked at me and he said, well, if we're going to do this, I just have one, request. And I said, okay, what is it? And he said, I'd like you to kiss me goodbye.
That's what I said.
And I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Papa and Nana, I hope you're never watching this.
That was off limits. The
That-
way we
that
were
was
raised.
no.
Yeah, you didn't do that.
But I did. I kissed him goodbye. He walked down the stairs, and the next time I talked to him was 23 years later.
Yep.
Wow.
That's right.
Yes. So that's a little bit about our history and then how I became integrated with Lamar was the 23 years later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Actually, me and you reconnected
First.
We did,
before.
on
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
on MySpace.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
no.
might have been, I don't
MySpace.
remember.
I
Was it
think-
MySpace or
I think it was
Facebook
MySpace
or-
and then
I don't
Facebook.
remember. Yeah, maybe it
Oh,
was.
you're
Maybe it
talking about
was.
years ago.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm talking
yeah.
about years and
Okay.
years ago. Yeah. But it was like 20, it wasn't too long, like maybe 6 months or so before the two of you guys had reconnected again too. So it wasn't very, no. With my brain, my memory is so bad. No, it was like a couple of years prior to me and you had talked.
Yes.
And then we went it was like a while before we talked again, and then we re-talked a
Yeah.
little later because we ended up meeting up in Gatlinburg.
I know, it was the weirdest thing.
yeah,
You had
yeah.
posted on your Facebook that you and Lamar were having a vacation in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. And that night I was driving to Nashville, but I was going to stay in Pigeon Forge, that night, the girls and I. And I just Facebooked you and was like, hey, there's no way I'm not going to see you after
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these years.
Yeah.
And so I got to meet Lamar, and he got to meet the
girls.
The
Yeah, we got
girls.
to meet Ken and Salem.
Yeah.
And he had to ride. They rode with
They
you, I
rode
think.
with
We
me.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
y'all-
So me and you
Y'all
could
had
have
to do
some
some
one-on-one
catching up.
time. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had got the girls, and that was like, wow.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did. You looked a little frazzled by the time.
Oh,
we-
no, it was fun. I enjoyed them. I fell in love with them.
And immediately, just y'all's connection was just so steady. And I don't know, we began to communicate way, more.
Yeah.
Jonathan had, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks earlier around Thanksgiving,
Yep.
had just sent a message on Facebook, literally thinking back to the times that we had Thanksgiving
right,
together.
Yeah,
And they were good times.
yeah, amazing times.
And from that just began conversation. And so I remember you rode with me while the girls were riding with Lamar.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to put my hand like that in your face. And you said, "What's going on with you, and my brother?" And I was like, "Nothing." What, are you kidding?
That's
Like, I
exactly
was-
how she said it too. She's like, nothing. I cannot be a stepmom to an additional 4 kids. She's like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
And I said, Louisiana is what?
Bad for my hair.
It's bad for all of our hair.
It's bad for my hair.
Yeah.
So in my mind, there was no way that this was ever going to be
Yeah.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I remember on that trip, something went wrong with my van, and Jonathan had Lamar come over to make sure that to put more stuff in it to make sure I would make it
Right.
to the next place. And I thought that was
Yeah.
just kind of an amazing gesture at that time in my life. So anyway, we'll proceed from there. So why don't y'all tell us a little bit about y'all?
About
Us?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, what about us?
Well, I mean, you
We've been together for a while now.
yes, and you share.
We share a beautiful daughter, and just amazing young lady,
Yeah.
and so
And I have
it's
5,
a blessing.
great stepkids. They're all
Yes.
scattered
So we're a
abroad.
blended family, for sure, and we have some amazing kids, and we're kind of in the holiday season right now, and I'm missing some of my
Sure.
kids. So, a lot, and most of my kids are adults anyway, and they're doing their thing. And one set lives in Ohio, and the rest of them are in Louisiana.
Wow.
But,
Yeah, kind
any
of
case.
scattered abroad. So, but yeah, we've only been in North Carolina for, let's see, about a year and a half now.
I
So
know.
being up here is very new for him, and so it's been hard, being away from the kids. Kaylee is the younger one of the group, and so she's the one that kind of has interacted with us kind of the most. We've got Kelly and Jeff and their families that are back home, and then Jared and all of them. So, it's challenging whenever you have that big of a family, sometimes, but you try to make the best of it with what you're given.
Yeah.
And so
Well, we're thankful because just
Yeah.
recently too, we were able to take a trip when I was on vacation.
I know you kept being on
Vacation.
vacation.
So we enjoyed that very much with Madison and with Kaylee in Orlando for a whole week. So we enjoyed that.
enjoyed
And
that, yeah.
what was unique about that too is they're young adults now, and to be able to interact with them now that they're at that level, that was really a blessing. But anytime through the holiday, a lot of times you'll think back to these memories, and it's not just that. And I think way back, we used to have big family gatherings.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Christmas Eve used to be really, really big for us
Yeah.
with our family when all the kids were younger, the grandkids were younger, because we'd have them all over to the house and they would stay the night, and we'd have a blast. We'd wake up, he'd cook breakfast the next morning, and so those are the days. I think that as you get older and as your kids get older, those are the days that you look back on, and you miss.
Oh, yeah.
So-
And you need to cherish them too, because as life evolves and changes,
Yes.
things change.
Absolutely.
They do change. So they're not going to stay the same, no matter. And sometimes we don't want them to stay the same.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to fight through that and adjust. And for us, the last year and a half has been a big adjustment.
Yeah, very big.
You guys have become our closest family up here
Yes.
since we live very close, and Daniel as well.
Sure.
And so we have enjoyed that very
Yeah.
much.
I
Like
think-
we've been involved in so many different things, and so oftentimes it can be difficult to know what to pull from, to talk about,
Sure.
But I mean, just to summarize, we've been married for about 22 years, going up on 22 years now, and so we've owned multiple businesses, been involved in lots of church ministries. We were over a teen ministry for 10 years. I would say, probably looking back for me personally, those were some of the greatest memories, being involved with that teen ministry, involved with lots of community projects, and just knowing that you have the opportunity to be a part of a young person's life to help, mold them and shape them in a direction that they're going to go, to be of help to parents and things like that. I mean, it's a big responsibility, but it was also a very big blessing. And so since we've moved up here for the last year and a half, it's been a lot of reminiscing, looking back on some of those things, because our life has slowed down so much. Yes.
Drastically changed.
Yes, I mean, we went from owning 2 businesses, going founder of a church ministry, to being up here, and it's definitely been different, but
Culture
in a
shock.
good way.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's still culture
Yeah,
shock, because
yeah.
nothing about North Carolina is anything like Louisiana.
it's
And
It's reversed culture shock. It's not. There's nothing nothing odd up here. It's been pleasant.
It's been wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
Louisiana's the culture shock,
In-
and I've been up there. I'm almost my whole life, so I know that.
Yeah.
But in our relationships as our spouses, you both have watched us come into this arena of
Yes.
podcasting,
Yes.
and I want to hear, and I'll start with my husband. Like, what have you observed as this journey for us in this business?
Yeah.
And you're a
That's a good
businessman
question.
too. This is also, we're going to get to
I
that.
think that life is, or what I've learned, let me put it this way, is that life is full of seasons. In other words, when I was a kid, I would watch, my dad was a carpenter, then he was a preacher, and that's what he's done for all these years. And most parts in my brain, and I'll speak for myself, was you pick a trade or you pick something and you stick with it. That's not been my experience in life. And I think if we approach life and realize that it is a season, there are seasons of turmoil. There are seasons of careers that we think are going to be successful. Right. You talked about having many businesses. And then there are seasons where we just have to recoup and figure out where we're going. And that's kind of like even in y'all's business. I mean, that's what you do in business. You say, hey, this model I believe will work good. And you put all of your heart, your faith, your money into it. And then sometimes that's a very successful business and sometimes it's not. But what I've watched is you just redirect.
Right.
And you look for different areas. It's just like the podcast. I think the podcast is great because here's the truth. You're learning this as you go along.
Sure.
And in small business, what I am learning, and I have told you this a lot, like even in what I'm doing, like there's been no body that I could pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I need to figure out how to do this. Mm-hmm. And so what that's done is that's put me researching and racking my brain all the time. But what you have to do is just totally redirect and figure it out. And then as you do that, it starts to build confidence. And that's what I see. I see that's with the podcast. When you first started out, you can go back and you can see it was good, but it wasn't great. And you're learning from it and you're building on it. And I think that's what we have to do in business and we have to do it in our personal lives. Talked about kids. And I have said this 1,000,000 times in my lifetime since my first daughter was born. I'm not a person that looks back a lot. And I loved every stage of my kid's life. Becoming an adult part, not so much, I'm realizing. I really am because I see those downfalls. I see those things that I want to jump in and fix, and I can't.
Yeah.
And so there are stages of business, of raising children. We don't like all those stages. Like, I wish that I could just sell manufactured homes and didn't have to do all the paperwork and make the government happy and all those things, but it's part of business. And, that's what I see is redirecting your seasons.
Okay. What about you, Heather?
As far as as far as the podcast and stuff, I mean, it's been interesting because I know that that's something back home that we were involved with. We actually went on a local leaders podcast, and that was something that was very interesting to Lamar back then. And so we knew that you guys were up here and you had a studio and had all of the capabilities of doing that type of thing. And I think he had actually mentioned it to Daniel too in the past. And so whenever we moved up here and just trying to figure out what was going to happen, what we were going to do, what we weren't going to do, and you guys got involved in that. Watching it from the beginning was just interesting because like Jonathan said, you guys really don't know what you're doing, but yet you're scared to death. And I totally admire the two of you guys
absolutely.
for jumping in full-footed with something that you had never done before and learned. And, I mean, it's been great in the community. I mean, the people that you guys have been able to interview, I haven't watched every episode, but the ones that I have watched have been very informative. And yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I know it's given him some purpose. It's given you some purpose.
Absolutely.
And when you have a heart for people, it's natural for you want to go after that and pull those stories out and get to know people. And I think it's great what you guys are doing. I love it.
And y'all are creative people.
Yeah,
I
very
am,
creative.
I am not a
Yes,
creative
yes,
person.
I am not either.
And so that's also been a thing that that I have enjoyed watching. In the beginning, I didn't realize that I enjoyed watching it. I'm a problem solver. So it's okay, if this is a problem, let's solve it and let's move on to the next one. So it's solution based. But what all three of you, Daniel, Lamar, and Audra, y'all love to create content.
Yeah.
And that's been neat watching. Like, let's make this set. When y'all start saying, we're going to make a set right here in this corner, and I'm like, what? And then y'all do it, and it looks great. And I mean, I'm proud of you for that. But I don't have that eye.
Yeah.
But it takes all of us to
Yeah.
make things happen.
Yeah, everybody in this room, we couldn't do without. We couldn't do this without
Sure.
And I know, like, as a husband and a wife dynamic, when one partner is not creative or is not, in the same mindset, sometimes you would tend to, or they could tend to say, I don't really want you involved in that. That's not as profitable as I want it to be.
And probably in my past, I probably would have had that approach. Just
Well,
being honest. That's not who I am anymore, though. It's like, sure, you want to go do it? Let's tackle it. Let's give it a shot. Because when I look back in my life, there are things that I wished I would have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I did not try them just because I assumed I was going to fail at them. But I would rather, knowing at 46 years old, I would rather say, hey, I tried it and I succeeded, or I tried it and I failed, but guess what? I tried it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you allow me that rope. Like, you have no issues with sin. I mean, okay, I'll just be honest. I mean, my business partner and best friend is Daniel, what husband normally
Yeah.
would allow
Sure.
that without some sort of backlash at home.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's not the way we live.
That's just
It's
not
us.
No.
So,
And you have, interestingly, I mean, when we met at 12, you also met
Absolutely.
Daniel
Right,
at 12.
yeah.
We all have a lifetime of time together, of relationship. Yeah.
Yes. And I
looking
think
for the
that also,
Plays into that as
yeah,
well.
it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, no, Daniel's almost like a brother.
yeah.
More so than-
I mean, we have Sunday
Yeah, very
family.
much part of the story.
Yeah. I mean, our Sundays is, our biggest highlight of the week is Sunday dinner. And it's like I tell everybody, like, you don't have to come every Sunday, but just know if you want to come, we're not going to call you. Just show up. Well, this Sunday, Daniel calls. He's like, hey, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
So he come on. That's just the way we operate. That's the way that I love to operate. Like, listen, life is stressful enough. I mean, whoever's listening to this podcast, it doesn't take you but for a second to think about all the stress that you have going on in your life.
Yeah.
And the way I choose to live my life now is if I can relieve stress, whether that's Audra and I's relationship or Daniel and I relationship or y'all's relationship, man, I want to relieve all the stress I can off of the people I love. But secondly, if I'm not stressing them out, guess whose life's a little better too? Mine.
Yours. And I will say, you have just recently jumped into a business as an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
which I've never seen that side. Have you ever seen that side of him?
No.
In all these years, I've never seen that side.
I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him.
too.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't know, about 6 or 7 months ago, we had a friend and now business partner, offer a partnership.
Yeah.
And just to put it in perspective, yes, we did travel. Yes, we did do that. But Jonathan, you came off the road at 18 to take a other jobs. And
Absolutely.
you have been a truck driver.
Yeah, I started out over 20 years ago as a food service truck driver, and then I got into management and managed for years. And then through life circumstances, and when Audra and I got back together and got married and moved up here, I didn't want to do that anymore. So I stayed with the same company, and I went back to driving a truck at night, just something that was easy for me to heal where I was. Let me put it that way. And I still do that, but a really great friend of ours came to me, and he's very knowledgeable in this business, and he said, "Listen, I want to teach you the business. There's things that we can do." And so we went into the manufactured housing business. We do single wides, double wides, modular homes.
And what's your company called?
Carolina Comfort Homes.
And it is really just, it seems like
Yeah,
having favor shown that
Absolutely.
way at this
Yeah.
point. And, Jonathan, you're learning so much about setting up LLCs and
the whole gamut.
The
I've had to
whole-
learn
yeah.
the whole
So,
gamut.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
I will say this though,
And it's great.
yeah, it is, and I think that, and I have said this to y'all many times in the last couple of months. If I could just figure this part out, and I could just, and what I am learning is there's always something in a small business to figure out. But as you figure out each one of those things, it's like a kid riding a bicycle with training wheels. They're scared to death with those training wheels. And then they do really good with that. You take those training wheels off and they are literally scared to death. Well, in a few hours or a few days, they're not thinking about that anymore. And so it begins to build confidence. And that's my experience. I also want to be able to, in time, which is what y'all are doing and bringing people in on the Small Business Podcast, is to be able to mentor people that says, hey, that's a business I want to get into. And I'm like, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what you need to know. Yeah. And because if I would have had somebody to help me through all of those things, it sure have gave us all a little more peace.
But that's like an entrepreneur mindset,
Yeah.
though, looking for problems that you can fix for other people. If you fix it for yourself, you fix it for
And
other
I think I do have that mindset. I think for a lot of times, and I had shared with my business partner this. I've always worked for the other man, so to speak.
right.
And it's not been a bad thing. It's that I knew that if I made X amount of money, if I did this, I could take care of my responsibilities. Going outside of that was always a very scary thing because I did not have that stability that, number one, as a man, I believe we are to provide if we can. And secondly, because of who I am, that's what I want to do. But what I have done in doing that is created a box around myself that says, hey, man, you're passing up all these other opportunities. And what I am seeing happen is that it's very rewarding to see what you wonder will work, to come out and say, hey, that can be successful. It is going to be successful. And again, I don't believe it is, but if this venture does not work out in the long run, I can take whatever I've learned from this
Yes.
and go into the next one and say, hey, you know what? I was scared to death in the beginning. I didn't know how to do any of it, but I made it that far through this, so let me tackle this next thing again.
And I think that Heather has a similar story, which I want you to share a little bit about, because you bit off a lot.
Oh yeah, when I opened my business, yeah. I mean, I did.
And
It's-
Lamar has shared.
Yeah, I've shared a lot about that. But
Yeah.
a lot of it at the beginning, it was all her
So,
getting all
yeah.
that figured out. So, yeah, that's her. And
Yeah, I mean,
I'm amazed at what she did.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm not currently involved with it just because of my health, and which is the reason why I ended up having to close my gym ultimately. But I was very blessed and fortunate to open a dream business of mine, something that I had always wanted to do. After the birth of my daughter, prior to her, I was very athletic, never really had to worry about my weight or anything like that. And then long story short, you have the baby, you gain the weight, you can't get it off, you don't know what's going on, you get frustrated, you go to the gym, you get intimidated, and you repeat the process. It's what 90% of women do out there. And for me, it's like was saying, you want to find a problem and fix it for someone else. So in my mind, it was, listen, women have babies all the time, and they struggle so much to figure out how to get this weight off. If I can get this figured out, then maybe I can help others. And so, I just went on he can tell you for probably 2 or 3 years, just playing with all kinds of stuff. And again, to make a very long story short, figured out how to lose the weight, then figured out how to use nutrition to, change your body composition and gain lean muscle, and ended up being at a gym in a facility, and one of the owners of the facility had saw me in there multiple times and was very kind and came up and asked if I had ever considered being a personal trainer. And at that point, I was up in life. I was a stay-at-home mom at that point. I was not working in the workforce anymore. And I'm like, that sounds like fun, but I don't know if that's something my husband would want me to bite off. And so anyway, after talking to Lamar and him seeing how passionate I was about it and something I really thought that I wanted to do, he was like, yeah, we'll go ahead and you can pursue that, and not that I have to get his permission for everything. I don't have to do that.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, he's my husband. I love him dearly.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and he doesn't. And he never has. He never has. And
Yeah.
because a lot of men out there do, like they have a problem with their spouses going to the gym because of sometimes the settings that are there, which is totally understandable. And so, I did that for about, I guess, a year and a half. And always thought about opening my own business, but I did not want to do a regular gym. I wanted it to be something that was unique to what my passion was and what I wanted to do. And so I ended up being online one time and came across an ad of a facility called Fit Body Boot Camp. It's a franchise. And what it embodied and what they did within their model was very almost identical to what I would have wanted to do from a business standpoint. I didn't want just the regular gym where somebody swipes a key and comes in. It's like I want you to be able to work with those individuals, not only with working out physically, but with their mindset, with their nutrition, because it's a full package. It is a full package. And so I had figured out that these diets do not work. They work temporarily, the weight goes back on. And so my goal was to teach people how to live a life of health,
And you went straight after that. You figured out.
I did, yes.
Dealing with the franchise, the way that you did, and then
Setting up the facility.
the facility,
Brick and mortar facility.
Yep.
and then
Employees, all of it.
marketing.
Yeah, I had 8 at one point. I think I had 8 personal trainers that worked under me, at the gym, and, the silver lining for me with all of that, is the fact that, my facility leader, Annie, was amazing. I could not have done what I did without her help. And whenever I decided that I had to close my business because of my health, she said, I'm not done yet. And the rest of the team said, we're not done yet. And so they rebranded, and they're still going strong today.
Isn't that awesome?
So that's like my silver lining, because even though closing that business was one of the hardest things for me, my husband was amazing. Whenever I first started having health issues, he ended up, the goal all along was, for him to come over and work, for him to dissolve his construction business.
Right.
And work, with me. That was the goal all along, because he's so good with, computer things, and he can do advertising and graphics and things like that. And I'm not good at that. And so it just seemed like the natural pairing. And so whenever I started getting sick, he was like, okay, I have to preserve this, And so he ended up forgoing his business, dissolved that, actually handed that to his right-hand man that had been with him for quite a while. And that business is still going today. And so he did that and dissolved that, and then came over and learned everything he could. My husband does not like fitness. He'll tell you, that's not
I like
his
food.
He likes food.
Me too, Lamar.
Yeah,
Me too.
it's always been like I I eat to live. He lives to eat. That's
I'm in
always.
Louisiana.
I
From
wonder.
everything.
I
Yeah.
wonder if you would
That's
agree
our
with
color.
that.
You know that absolutely. I mean, the atmosphere around me is that. So
I mean,
Yeah. So,
It's
but
my
I mean,
battle.
Yeah.
I think that
That's
we
how
talk.
we were raised.
I think that we talk a lot on this podcast about mostly victorious things, as far as business people. I mean, they're in it and it's going well. We rarely talk about when it doesn't go well,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And how does that affect you? And pick yourself up off the ground and prioritize, hey, this is what matters the most right now.
Right.
And I feel like that you both did that. I watched, from afar, and it was it's not something that you wanted to do.
No,
I
definitely.
mean, you
not.
fought tooth and nail
No. Yeah.
not to have to do that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, health is the only thing we get one time around with.
Right.
We can have multiple businesses, but
Right.
It's been an interesting ride, and I think again we're people of faith. Sometimes not a lot of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're like mustard seed
Yeah.
faith,
Yeah.
but there's been lessons learned in all of it, and I have to be very honest. It's very painful,
Yeah.
Very.
and you have to your outlook on things. You have to be very careful with your outlook because that can destroy you. It can destroy your mindset, your life, your interactions with people. So being a person of faith, we believe there's a reason for all of that, and there's lessons to be learned through all of it. I know it's extremely painful for Heather, that time in life. Very painful for me. But I don't want to stay there or live there. Something you alluded to earlier. Sometimes you just got to move on and, deal with things and move on. And so that's what we've did.
That's
But
what
it's something that needs to be
you've done.
talked about.
Yeah,
it does.
absolutely.
There's lessons to be learned.
because I don't look at that as, I don't look at that as a failure, and you don't either. Those
No.
things are still happening, and people's lives are still being changed by a decision that y'all made together to jump,
Yeah.
just in faith and, jump. And I feel like that is very reminiscent of what we are, we're jumpers
Yeah. Absolutely.
over here.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's just do this.
Well, it's
Like,
pivot. You hear that
Pivot,
word a
yeah.
lot in entrepreneurship, pivot. But you also hear this a lot, and you're alluding to it right now, is that, when you deal with failure, there's a way you need to refocus the way you look at that. It's a learning opportunity.
Yes,
It's not,
yes.
you're not failing.
No.
You're going to learn from it, even if you have to pivot, even if you have to step out of that into something else.
Right.
And every entrepreneur that's sat at this table, you hear that there's lessons to be learned
Yeah.
as
Right.
you go along. It's
Yeah,
not a
because
failure.
I
it's a learning opportunity.
we still don't know. Yeah, I still have a passion for fitness. I love it. I still can't go work out to this day because of my health, and I have high hopes that it will eventually return. But talking about what we're talking about, I may not ever be able to be in the capacity that I was before. But there's something about the knowledge that I've obtained through those years that doesn't mean that some of that knowledge can't be used down the road.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it can be used in day-to-day life, honestly.
Well, it is in my personal and our personal lives
Right.
now. But yeah, you're right.
And when it comes to you, Jonathan, as your wife, I've sat back for almost a decade now and just watch you work for the man. And knowing that you were talented beyond what you would let anybody see other than in our household, and knowing that, and I've even said this to you, like, I don't want to think for the next 20 years,
Yeah, sure.
I have to, you work second and third shift. We don't get to sleep in the same bed, but 2 nights a week. I mean, all night,
Yeah.
you
right.
come in
Sure.
early morning. And I just don't want to live like that for the rest of my life. And until this opportunity came along for you, it didn't seem like that was ever going to happen.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
Because
That's
you
true.
like
Yeah.
schedules
and,
and you
and
like,
the reality is it looks good, and who knows where it goes. But here's what you can do, and what I am doing and plan to do is give it 1,000%. And then, I mean, I would assume I haven't lost a business. I've been through a lot in life, and I think the key, whether it's a business issue, whether it's a life issue, whether it's a health issue, we have all experienced some dramatic issues in all those areas that I've mentioned, is that it's outlook, and you got to keep moving.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about, and I'm giggling within myself, because you use the analogy at the beginning. Somebody learned how to ride a bike for the first time. They got what's the wheels? The
Training
training wheels. Didn't have training wheels in my day. It was like we didn't have bikes in my day.
Yes, they did.
But
my
you ride the
gosh.
bike with the training wheels, and you learn how to do it. I've seen my kids do this
Yeah,
many
yeah.
times, and then you start getting the confidence, and then sometimes that little bolt on the training
yeah.
wheel will come loose.
Yes.
And the training wheel will
Flops
flip
up.
up and the kid falls down.
Yeah.
You got to go through the confidence thing altogether.
Yeah.
But then they get to a point where they can take them off.
Yeah.
And start riding again. That takes a little while to get used to. And then
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, it's like, oh, what else can I do with this bike?
Oh yeah,
And
exactly
start
right.
Popping a wheelie.
Building
Yeah.
a ramp.
Build a ramp. So I'm thinking about this is one
Oh,
thing I did when
gosh.
I was a kid.
That was our childhood. We used
Yeah.
to jump ramps.
Build
all
a
the
ramp.
time.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had this
and jump
10
over.
speed English racer, real
Uh-huh.
fancy. And so you're not supposed to jump ramps with
yeah.
those,
No.
but good night.
They're not designed
They're
for
not
that.
designed for that. So I built this ramp
I
and
did
like
one time.
all
It
this
didn't go well.
confidence. I went and jumped that ramp, and when I hit the ground, something locked on the brakes and flipped me right off of the thing. Lost
Yeah.
all my confidence
Uh-huh.
again. Hurt myself badly.
Oh yeah.
That's how it is
Oh,
being
absolutely.
an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
You
is.
get back up, brush
exactly
it off,
it.
heal up, then move on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly
What's
it.
it like? Okay, so I'm going to start asking some questions.
Okay.
What's it like to be married to a spouse that is a podcaster?
Especially in this situation, because we have unique relationship.
Would the question be a podcaster or just being creative?
Well,
Because
I
that's
just,
what podcasting is, right?
I mean, it is. It is. To some degree, however you want to answer it.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think what my answer would be to that question.
Heather, are you ready to answer that
Well,
question?
I don't know if I'm ready to answer it, but I can give it a go. So
Okay. Give it a
restate
go.
the question one more time.
How is it to be married
To a
s-
podcaster.
To a podcaster?
Well, I mean, for me, in my situation, it's interesting because I never know all the time when he's going to have one. So he'll call and he'll say, "Hey, listen, I need you to get my shirt ready because I'm fixing to have a podcast." Or it's like it's just a lot of randomness right now because you guys, we don't know when you guys are going to do them or when you're not going to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
them. But I love being able to listen to him whenever he comes home after y'all have done podcast
Yes.
because he'll tell me about what you guys will talk about and things like that. Sometimes he'll share those stories.
And I always say nice things about my co-host.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
I
so
don't-
funny the way these two interact, and I think it's great that they have the relationship that they have. And I enjoy watching y'all's interactions. I don't know exactly how else to answer that question.
That was good.
Yeah,
was
no,
good.
that was
Yeah.
good. And Audra, a lot of times it's funny because she'll be trying to figure out content for a podcast or doing, I don't know what you call it, where you're clipping it, when Daniel sends it to you.
Oh,
and
reel.
Yeah, whatever that is. See, I'm not a creator. But she'll just be talking, and I think she's talking to me. And she's talking out loud to herself, and I'm like, "Babe, are you talking to me?" No, I'm just doing something with a podcast or trying to
podcast.
figure out content.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and that
"Well,
is true. We hear that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
and Jonathan probably is the same exact way. I hear the word podcast a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's always in conversations. You don't go a day without hearing something about podcasts.
Well, it's not
and
just
stuff.
ours too, because I watch podcasts too.
Yeah, he
I-
does. Yeah,
I
he does.
enjoy that type of content.
But and obviously, a podcast is a dime a dozen out there,
Yeah,
and so it's really coming up with something and producing something that helps people. It's like other stuff that we're looking at to say, hey, how can we help people in this segment? And I also think that you have to have, which y'all do a great job of, me not so much, but y'all come across as who you really are.
Yeah, very
Like
genuine.
when the lights come on and the cameras start, you're not being fake. That's who you really are. I mean,
Yeah.
Sitting here. And I think that comes across because we always say, and people hear me say this all the time, I beat it to death, that I want to just be real. Well, I think that's what comes across when y'all are doing your podcast.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I have questions. Here we go. Are you ready?
Okay.
The rapid fire. Heather,
Okay.
what is
I'm scared.
Lamar's go-to coffee order?
Lamar's
Oh, my
go-to
God.
coffee over is peppermint white chocolate mocha if he can get the peppermint. If not, it's just white chocolate mocha.
Okay. And Jonathan, what is my go-to order?
Well, you don't drink coffee, so you like tea, and let me see if I can get this right. Now, in my younger years, I would have been totally embarrassed to do this at Starbucks or anywhere else, but she wants a chai tea, no water, oat milk, 2 pumps of chai, and 2 pumps of is it gingerbread?
Yep,
All
that's
right.
it.
And then she I pull up to the drive-through, and she looks at the woman and she says, "Now, I'm going to sit here and taste it and make sure that it's okay." And they always look at her like, and she'll taste it and she'll say, "Yeah, it's okay,"
Or no, it's
or
not.
"No, it's not." And sometimes she'll have them fix it, but
But I'm not being a diva
No,
because
no, but-
Starbucks is expensive.
No,
It
it
is
is.
not
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
on a budget.
Get
It
it
is.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
But I mean, what we cannot figure out, and since we're on this podcast, what we cannot figure out is all Starbucks are the same, right?
They're supposed to be.
They order the same stuff, but how is it that you can tell them 2 pumps of this, 2 pumps of that, and one it tastes great? All I can figure out is the people behind there, what you call them, the barista.
Barista.
Barista. All I can figure out is it's how they
Do the pumps.
do the
maybe?
pumps. Instead of pushing it all the way down, maybe I have no clue.
halfway.
I don't
But
know.
Anyway.
But
It's a problem.
To
it's
keep
a
you up at
problem.
night?
It's
Hey,
a
let me
problem.
tell you what I did. She also will do chai tea from Trader Joe's, and then we order the mix. And so it never fails whatever she wants because she can't because of her health issues. So whatever she feels like she can either drink or eat, it's usually on a whim. And I'll go to the store. I'll say, "Babe, I'll go wherever I need to get it." And you can bet your bottom dollar if she asks for it, the store's
ain't gonna
not
have it.
going to have it.
Yeah.
So right now, this time of the year, Trader Joe's has their chai tea mix. I went in the other day and bought, I think it was 6 or 7 of them things.
Hey, get her stocked up for
Yeah,
a while.
I'm
it
like-
really bothers you.
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
no, it will bother me because if you live with somebody who can't eat, and of course, food next to my family and my wife, food is my passion. And when I say that, it's a struggle for me. And,
Like we're in counseling. For
Yeah, like right now, I'm gonna be honest. I'm ready to wrap this up and go get something to eat. I mean, that's the truth. But I mean, I've enjoyed being with you and all, but come on. But
Bring on the grub.
anyway, where was I at? I lost the train of thought.
It just
Your
bothers.
Trader's Joe.
Oh
job.
yeah. So because that, I am motivated by food. If I can't get her what she wants, like it really bothers me. She asked for something the other day, and I went to Walmart, and there was this lady, this older lady, very seasoned lady, let me put it this way, on the aisle, and she heard me. She said, "Son, are you all right?" I said, "I cannot believe this." I'm talking to myself, like, I cannot believe this. Every time she needs something, these stores don't have it. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "I'm just looking for something for my wife." And I went on my little tangent, and I told her, I said, "I never can find it." And so, yeah, she thought I was crazy, but it does bother me.
Yeah.
But I've also started to realize, dadgummit, if she asks for it, it just probably ain't going to be there. So if I go somewhere and see it, let me buy it up.
Yeah. Make
But
sure stock
I'm
up.
never upset with you that you.
No,
can't.
but if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be bad.
Oh well. Okay.
So I appreciate
Moving
you not being
on.
upset.
Heather, what is your biggest pet peeve with Lamar?
My biggest pet. That's easy.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Here I am coughing. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so my biggest pet peeve with Lamar
Yeah.
is the fact that I wish that he would at least start walking.
Oh,
Start walking.
I mean, we're not wheeling them in here, but you
That is
mean
my
like
biggest-
That's
Exercise.
not a good thing. I have my walking steps on my phone, so I
But
can
let
tell
me
you how many
explain.
steps.
Let me
Okay,
explain.
go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason why I want him to be walking is because there's no lie. He's 65 years old.
Dude, you just
Okay.
she outed you.
I'm 47. I'll be glad to say it.
I'm 46. I'll be glad to say
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, but anyway, he has some issues with his legs. And so for me, in my background,
circulation.
I feel like that if I could just get him walking every single day, that it would help.
What's your problem, Lamar?
I don't have a problem.
That was well, okay. That's
Oh
her.
my word, that's her pet
That's
peeve.
my
That's her
pet peeve.
peeve.
What's your pet
Ask.
peeve?
My biggest pet
Help
peeve
me out
with
here.
Audra is, honestly, out of everything, is her being so hard on herself and everything. So trying to be, I don't want to say perfect because she realizes she's not perfect. But if she don't present well or there's an issue, then she beats herself up for time to come. And so that honestly, that would be my biggest pet peeve. I mean, we get along well.
Yeah.
We really do. I mean, again, it's just the way we choose to live our life. That don't mean we don't disagree. I mean, there are areas, I'll say this. I think one of the best things I have learned in a relationship, there's many, and I could spend hours, and I'm not doing that because I'm ready to eat. But it's all right, baby. It'll be okay. Is that what I have learned is I really like that in our relationship that we see things through a different lens. It means that, the fundamental things we agree on, the things that we need in our household and in a relationship we agree on. But I think for so much of my life, I thought that the woman needed to have the man's ideas.
Yeah.
And what I have enjoyed is just, she'll come to me with some crazy ideas sometimes, or just the thought process. And I'm like, she'll tell me sometimes, like, what do you think about this? I'm like, babe, my mind don't even work that way. Like, I'm not even concerned about that. But then I go down the road and I think about it. Well, it kind of, I might look into it. I may not. But it's
Thought provoking.
Thought provoking, yeah. But my biggest pet peeve is how hard she is on herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem, brother-in-law, is not nothing to do with Audra.
Yeah.
I got only issues there, but no, we won't talk about it here. But no, we have this problem, and the problem is you have a large number of daughters.
Oh, that's true.
You're having to deal with in your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And I've had
Yep.
a large number of daughters I've had to deal with in my house in my lifetime as well. So it's like, oh my Lord.
I know. I mean, it really is. You call it the house of
Interesting.
hormones.
House of
House of
hormones. That's
hormones.
what I
Right.
call it.
Okay. Next thing. Who is the better cook?
Oh, well, that's the easy answer. I can answer that right now.
Yeah, I would be glad to answer that right now.
No, in
She
y'all's
can answer
relation.
In our relationship, I am awful. Like, I'm
No,
telling
that's
you,
not
like
true.
last
Not
night.
true,
Listen,
Heather.
your brother has been with you my whole life. Let's put it that way. And you used to couldn't cook anything.
Yeah.
She would burn water. I mean, she couldn't do it. But in this last little bit, I will say she's done really good. She's brought me some stuff. I've been impressed with it.
She's,
Yeah.
It's
she
like-
does try. She does
It's
very much
hit
so.
and miss with me when it comes to cooking. I give it my best go. Last night, I'm still a little, I've still got a little, I don't know what you would call it about last night's meal because 2 hours slaving and it went right in the trash can.
Uh-oh.
So
Oh, no.
yeah. So
Oh,
I have
no.
several of those. So like I
So
may
y'all
hit it out of
growing
the
up,
park on occasion.
what I want to
but-
know is y'all growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, your whole family can cook. I mean,
Yeah.
your dad is an amazing cook.
Yeah.
Can cook his concoctions. Sometimes amaze me. But
Oh, yeah.
it's very good. Your mother cooked, excellent cook. You cook. Do well. Your sister is
Oh, yeah.
freaking amazing
Jenny
cook
is
as
great,
well.
yeah.
Jenny's
Yeah.
can put some stuff out.
Absolutely.
So
Then
what
there's
happened to
little old me.
her?
Well,
I don't know.
I think
Did she
that-
get out of all of it?
She was
think the
playing
answer to
playing
that
ball
was-
too much.
Yeah,
when
she
we-
was playing
Playing
basketball.
basketball.
But when we were kids, I didn't cook a lot. Like even in my teenage years, I loved to eat, but I had my daddy, my uncles, my grandma, all those. Everybody in my family cooked. But as I got married and that's when I began to cook. But my mama, when her and my dad first got married, I can't remember if it's I think it's the only vegetable she would eat or whatever. She would eat cold green beans
out
in
of
a
the
can.
Yeah, yeah.
I've done that.
And that's what, I did too growing up. I'd put Italian dressing over the top of them and eat
Of
them.
course.
I
There's
mean,
a sauce.
yeah, there's always going to be a sauce.
And some hot sauce.
It's a
But-
Louisiana
But
thing.
I don't know. I just think that there came a time where, Heather was just always worried about playing basketball or doing
Yeah,
something else.
So I want to. I know how competitive she is because I've been with her long enough to know that, and she's beat me way too many times to count in basketball and
Sure.
ping pong and pool and whatever else.
Oh, yeah.
Were y'all real competitive
No.
growing up?
I don't think that.
No, I don't think we were. We fought like cats and dogs.
did.
Like we did not.
Well, I know
like,
y'all
we're
have a great
super
love for each
close
other.
Absolutely.
as
And real
adults.
close.
Yeah.
Like we're very
I know
close
that.
as adults. But whenever we were younger, we fought. Like I can remember one specific time. Like I was mean. Like I'm just gonna be honest. Like I was
Oh
not a
no,
good
you weren't
sister.
me.
And I can remember one specific time. We wasn't in our bus. We were in a hotel, and I had bothered him a little one too much, and he threw my butt and literally closed me up in a folding
did,
bed,
yeah.
like one of those little folding beds. Like my
did.
feet
I
was sticking
locked
out.
the
One
top
in my
of it.
head was he locked. I couldn't get out of the thing.
I tell you the worst thing I ever did though, when we were really little.
Did you
And
get
I'm
in
sorry
trouble
about
for
this now, but
I don't
but
remember.
my
He probably
mama,
did.
I don't remember doing this, but I know I did because my mama and daddy says that I did. But and if I'm not mistaken, you used to have a little scar.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, right here. Yeah.
So she was. I don't remember our age.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
We were young.
But
It was
now I
before we
will
went into
tell
ministry.
you, I had a horrible temper. I
You did.
really have worked on that, made some strides with it, but I used to have a horrible temper. And she was
We were washing
aggravating me with
dishes.
something. We was washing dishes. And I don't remember what she did, but I took one of them metal spatulas
Jonathan.
and I hit her right between the eyes.
He don't
Jonathan.
remember it.
I don't remember.
do
it.
remember it.
I don't remember it.
I
And
remember
cut
it.
her and son. I don't remember
I
any of it.
bled like we were standing at the kitchen and we had to do chores.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if he was washing and I was rinsing
Yeah.
or if it was vice versa. But it was one of the old steel spatulas, and if you find an old steel one, there's like this little
Half
moon,
moon looking
like
thing
on the
on
back
there,
of
yeah.
it. So like when you pick up the hamburger, the grease will like run
Yep.
out the back of it. And he picked it up and he hit me across the head with it, and that
Jonathan.
little thing cut me right here.
Yeah.
And so I came into the living room and just blood was like pouring everywhere. You'd have thought like he'd have killed me, but it really was just a tiny little thing.
Yeah, but then
She probably knew how to push your buttons.
Again,
I
I
did,
don't
I did.
remember it,
I
but
did.
I know
She
my
gloats
daddy
over
tried to kill me
Yeah.
after that, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. So we're coming down to the end of everything. Who we didn't say who's the better cook in our household, but I feel like it's probably you.
I disagree. I mean, I am a cook, but this is what's
You can
amazing
cook too,
about
though.
yeah, she can cook, but what is truly amazing about
Yes.
when she cooks
It is amazing.
is she never tastes anything. She literally stands over the pot
And smells it.
and smells it, and she can smell whether it needs garlic,
Yes.
onion powder, and I promise you, when she finishes the dish, you won't have to add anything
Yes,
to it. It is
yes.
amazing, but she is a great cook. She
I just don't like it.
I'm just the go-to cook. I mean,
He's great. All right, and then here is probably one of the last ones. What is our most used phrase or saying?
oh Lord, we can't say that here.
Yes, you can.
Oh, that's too funny.
I'm sorry.
I would probably say the most. I don't know. There's.
Is it on you? Just coughed right on you. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, all right. So the most used sayings around us. What would they be?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
They don't pay attention to us at all.
To y'all.
Yes.
What y'all? I thought you meant
I know
around
what
the house.
I know what your most used saying is.
Oh, you're asking what our spouses used.
Yeah, I
like
didn't
what
know.
their
I'm
most
sorry,
used
I
failed the
sayings.
question.
Oh, I thought you meant like all of
Yeah, me
us.
too.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
Yeah. What is
most used
what's
sayings?
his most used saying?
Oh, you talking about on the podcast or just
In general.
normal? General.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know of anything.
I
that he
don't
says.
neither.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow, y'all don't pay attention.
oh
at
no,
all.
we pay plenty attention to you.
No, I mean I can answer it.
Okay, answer it.
Definitely, it's excited,
Excited.
amazing,
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
huge,
Huge.
Oh, you're talking about
like-
words.
or saying I don't know how you say huge.
Yeah, I
it's
plead
huge.
the fifth on my answer.
Huge. Yeah, yeah.
Community.
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 Yeah.
And then
Historic Kernersville.
and stories.
Historic. Yeah.
Historic.
And
Yep.
stories. And then Jonathan, your most used saying I feel like at home is, well, at the end of the day.
At the end
At
of the
the
day,
end of the
that makes
day,
sense.
that would be
day.
good
Yeah.
for him.
Yes.
That I would
And
agree
What
with
would be
that.
mine?
What would be
I don't-
yours? Oh my goodness. What would be? Oh, hold on a minute. I've got it. It's gone. I know it.
You thought it and it went away.
No, I know it.
I jinxed you.
Just give me a minute. Tell me what mine is.
It'll
and
come
then-
back.
I don't know it. I mean, I do
I know
know
what yours is,
but I
I'm
can't
not
say
saying
it here.
Not on this podcast.
We're getting really real. It has something to do. Oh, it's brutal.
It's brutal.
Brutal.
It's
Gotcha.
brutal.
It's
brutal.
That's my saying.
That's
Okay.
your
Brutal.
saying. It's
Yep.
brutal. Okay,
Brutal.
so now that we've gone and we understand that I have to be censored,
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes, yeah.
we will just move on and say number one, thank you both for loving us well. You don't just love us, you love us well. And you support us, and this podcast could not happen without either one of you in our lives. And we pray that it's a success, but more than that, we feel successful when we come home because you are there to support what we're doing. And so thank you for that. Lamar, say something touching.
Yeah, because I think the other thing that I like is this is not, we have this particular podcast for a reason, but this is not the only one.
No.
We have other ideas that we want to bring to the table, different podcasts, and who knows where this will lead. I know you have other interests that you want to share and be
Yeah.
real with that we think would benefit people. Totally different subject.
Yeah.
And some of it similar subject because I see some other ideas for you. Same thing with Heather. Both of you guys have had a health journey that's been very unique, and I think there's some information there that needs to get out. I think it would greatly benefit people. And one of the things I like about the studio and having Daniel helping us and us working together as a team is the ability to be able to bring all that to a reality, just like we dreamed about doing this. It's a reality now. Those other things, I can't wait. And I'm excited today, even having Heather on today, to watch this interaction because I know she'll do well at
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
And I knew that all along. And then with Jonathan, I'm excited for him with this new adventure and this business and the future of that. That's something we need to, we could probably talk about.
We
There's a lot
definitely
of
will.
lessons there. Definitely that can go out.
What is the website and way to get in touch
It
with you
is.
for
I'm
this?
still memorizing it myself. It's CarolinaComfortHomes.com, and the cell phone number is 336-267-6818.
Perfect. So if you have any
If you own your own land and you want to put a manufactured house of any kind on there, we can make it happen and at a great price.
great price. So with that, again, thank you both for being here and
Thank you for having
showing
us.
Thank
our
you very
audience a little bit behind the
Thank
curtain.
you for being proud of us enough
Yeah.
to show us off.
And we're excited about the podcast Daniel's going to start. We
Yes.
don't know
Oh
what that's
yeah,
gonna
whatever
be yet.
he's gonna do, I don't know.
Yep, we're gonna have to get
Well,
Daniel up here.
with that wraps up this special edition of Small Business Leaders Podcast. If you want to learn more about what we do here, follow us on any of the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe. Legacy Podcast Studio is what you need to look up on any of those. And we normally release once a week.
Yep.
And just be looking for that. If you have any questions that you want answers or businesses that you would like to see on the other side of this table to learn about, message us and we will get them here if we have the power to. Also, if you want to start your own podcast, this is the perfect place for you to do that. It's a turnkey production. You don't know need to know how to do audio or visual or anything. We provide all of that. And so contact us for more information on that. And we'll just say till next time, take care and
Take care.
bye.